He thought he knew what happened to a wife after a divorce. He thought it was a story of moving on, of finding a new life, of quiet relief or perhaps dignified sadness. He was wrong. There is another story, one that is never told in the courtroom or over beers with friends. A story that unfolds in the silent spaces a man never sees. This is that story, and by the end of it, you will question everything you think you know about the woman you let go. There is a house. It's not her house. Not really. It's the house he left her with. The keys are the same, but the lock feels different in her hand. It turns with a heavier click. When she steps inside, the silence doesn't greet her. It watches her. It's a thick, woolen silence, packed into the corners, smothering the echoes of a family that used to be. She drops her bag on the floor, and the sound is so violent, so out of place, that she flinches. This is the first moment. The moment the world becomes a different shape. A shape with sharp, unfamiliar edges. For the first few weeks, she is a ghost in her own life. She moves through rooms without touching the walls. She eats standing at the kitchen counter, because sitting at the table for one feels like a surrender. The bed is a vast, cold ocean. She sleeps on her side, curled tight, never venturing into the space that used to be his. That space is not empty. It is filled with a presence, the presence of his absence. It has weight. It has a temperature. Some nights, she swears she can feel the mattress dip under the memory of his body, and she will lie there, frozen, waiting for a breath that will never come again. She starts to change the small things. She buys a garish, orange throw pillow he would have hated. She leaves dishes in the sink overnight. She plays her music, the stuff he always rolled his eyes at, too loud in the empty living room. These are not acts of liberation. They are experiments. She is testing the boundaries of this new, hollowed-out world, poking at the edges to see if it will push back. It never does. The world just absorbs her small rebellions into its immense, crushing quiet. The pillow looks lonely on the vast, gray sofa. The music just makes the silence that follows seem deeper, more profound. Then comes the forgetting. Not the forgetting of him. No, that would be a mercy. It's the forgetting of herself. The woman she was with him, the one who knew how he took his coffee, who laughed at his jokes, who folded his shirts a certain way. That woman is dying, and there is no new woman rushing in to take her place. There is just a shell, going through the motions. She looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize the eyes staring back. They are older. They have seen things. They hold a quiet, simmering terror that she can't name. Who is she, if she is not his wife? The question echoes in the empty house, unanswered. She goes out with friends. They take her to a nice restaurant. They tell her she looks great. They say all the right things about new beginnings. She smiles. She nods. She even laughs. But inside, she is screaming because she can see it in their eyes. A mixture of pity and a faint, unacknowledged relief that it is her sitting in the divorce seat and not them. They are a circle of merry planets, and she has been knocked out of her orbit, spinning off into a cold, dark void. Their conversation about mortgages and school plays and summer vacations is a language she no longer speaks. She is an anthropologist studying a species to which she once belonged. And the men, they start to appear. Well-meaning friends of friends, set up on awkward coffee dates. They talk about their jobs, their divorces, their kids. They are perfectly nice. And to her, they are utterly alien. Their touch, when a hand might brush hers, feels like an intrusion. Their attempts at intimacy feel like a violation of a space that is still sacred to a ghost. She goes home from these dates feeling dirted, and ashamed of feeling dirted. The loneliness she felt in the empty house was pure, almost holy. This new loneliness, the loneliness of being surrounded by people who want a version of her that no longer exists, is a cheap, ugly thing. This is when the real unraveling begins. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow, meticulous dismantling of a soul. It starts with the small superstitions. She won't step on a crack in the pavement. She has to check the lock on the door exactly 3 times before she can go to sleep. She arranges the cans in the pantry so all the labels face perfectly forward. These are rituals, incantations. She is trying to impose order on a universe that has revealed itself to be chaotic and cruel. If she can just control the small things, maybe the big things, the yawning abyss inside her, will remain contained. Her mind becomes a dangerous neighborhood, and she goes there alone. After dark, she starts to replay everything, not just the fights, the final, ugly words. She replays the good times, the Saturday morning pancakes, the way he looked at her on their wedding day, the feel of his hand on the small of her back in a crowd. And with each memory, she performs a brutal autopsy. Was any of it real? Was that look of love actually just possessiveness? Was that protective hand actually a cage? She picks at the scar tissue of her past until it bleeds anew, poisoning the present. The past is no longer a comfort. It is a crime scene, and she is the detective and the victim all at once. She begins to see him everywhere. The scent of a stranger's shoulders in a crowd, a laugh from across a supermarket aisle, a car like his, pulling up to a stoplight. Her heart will lurch, a painful, hopeful spasm, and then the person will turn, or the car will drive away, and the crushing disappointment is a physical blow. It is in these moments she realizes a terrible truth. She is not mourning the man he was at the end. She is mourning the man she believed he was at the beginning. She is in love with a ghost, a memory, a beautiful, perfect lie that she herself helped to construct. The world outside continues to spin, indifferent to her internal collapse. Bills arrive in her name only. A leak springs under the sink, and she has to call a plumber, a strange man she must let into her sanctuary. She has to be competent. She has to be strong. She has to be the man and the woman of the house. And with each small victory, fixing the leak, negotiating with the insurance company, a little piece of her feminine spirit is sanded away. She is becoming harder, colder. The soft, yielding woman she was taught to be is a liability in this new, harsh landscape. She is building calluses on her soul. There are nights, the bad nights, when the silence of the house becomes a scream, when the weight of the empty space in the bed is so heavy it feels like it will crush her ribs. On these nights, she does something strange. She goes into the room he used as an office, the room that is now just storage for boxes of a life that's over. She doesn't turn on the light. She sits in his old chair, in the dark, and she just breathes. She is trying to absorb the last lingering molecules of him from the fabric, from the air. It is a form of self-torture, but it's the only thing that feels real. The pain is a landmark in the featureless desert of her new existence. She starts to have the dream. It's always the same. She is in a beautiful, sun-drenched house, a house she somehow knows is hers. She is happy, truly, deeply happy. Then she notices a door she's never seen before. It's always slightly ajar. A cold draft seeps from it. She approaches, her happiness curdling into dread. She pushes the door open, and she is back in her real, empty house. The transition is instantaneous. The dream happiness is so vivid that waking up is like being plunged into ice water. The dream is a cruel joke her mind plays on her, reminding her of a happiness that is possible, but forever out of her reach. Time becomes meaningless. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months. The seasons change outside her window, a beautiful, indifferent cycle of death and rebirth that mocks her own static despair. The cherry tree in the front yard blossoms, a riot of pink against a blue sky. She looks at it and feels nothing. Its beauty is an affront. She draws the blinds. She prefers the gray, internal weather of her own heart. It is a more honest reflection of her world. She stops returning phone calls. Her friends' voices on the voicemail become faint, distant signals from a planet she can no longer visit. They think she's pulling away because she's busy, or because she's healing. They don't understand. She is not pulling away. She is disappearing. The person they are trying to call is ceasing to exist. Each unanswered call is another brick in the wall she is building around herself, a wall she has no intention of ever leaving. Then, one Tuesday, something breaks. It's not a dramatic break. There is no screaming, no smashing of plates. She is in the grocery store, reaching for a box of cereal, and she sees a couple at the end of the aisle. They are not young. They are not particularly romantic. The man is comparing the price of 2 different brands of pasta, and the woman is leaning on the cart, waiting, with a look of such profound, simple, everyday companionship on her face. It is this look that does it. It is the final, unbearable truth. She leaves her half-full cart in the middle of the aisle. She walks out of the store. She gets into her car, and she drives. She doesn't know where she is going. She just drives, the streets blurring through a film of tears she didn't even know she was crying. She drives until she finds herself in a part of town she doesn't recognize. She pulls over, turns off the engine, and in the sudden, ringing silence of the car, she finally allows the thought to surface, the thought that has been circling in the depths of her mind for months, a shark waiting for her to bleed. It was never about losing him. It was about losing the world. When you are married, you live in a shared universe. You have a shared history, a shared language, a shared future, a story you are writing together. Divorce doesn't just take away your partner. It annihilates the entire cosmos you inhabited. The past becomes a lie. The present becomes a waiting room. The future simply vanishes. She wasn't just a wife who got divorced. She was a god whose universe was unmade. And now she is adrift in the chaotic, formless void that remains, a refugee from a reality that no longer exists. This is the revelation that shatters her. It is not a breakdown. It is a breaking open. All the pain, the fear, the rituals, the loneliness, It was all just the outer symptom of this core, cosmological trauma. She wasn't trying to get over him. She was trying to find a new world to live in. And she has failed. There are no new worlds. There are only other people's worlds. And she is forever locked out of them. She starts her car again. She drives home, but she is not the same woman who left. That woman was still fighting, still trying to rebuild. This woman is resigned. She walks back into the silent house, and this time, she doesn't flinch from the silence. She embraces it. She becomes one with it. She is the silence. She is the empty space in the bed. She is the ghost. This is not healing. This is a metamorphosis into something else entirely. Something darker. Something infinitely more patient. She begins a new project. She takes down the photographs. Not just the ones of him. All of them. The pictures of her with her friends, her family, her from college. She puts them all in a box and tapes it shut. She paints the walls a neutral, anonymous beige. She gets rid of the garish orange pillow. She strips the house of every fingerprint of her personality, of her history. She is erasing herself. She is creating a clean, empty stage for nothing, because nothing is what is coming. Nothing is what she has become. She stops looking in the mirror. Her reflection is a story she is no longer interested in reading. She eats for fuel, not for pleasure. She sleeps because her body demands it, not for rest. She becomes a perfect, efficient machine for enduring life. The vibrant, feeling woman is gone. In her place is a serene, hollowed-out vessel. The pain is still there, but it is no longer a sharp sting. It is a low, constant hum, the background radiation of her new, post-apocalyptic existence. It is the sound of a soul that has accepted its own demise. So, what happens to your wife after the divorce? She doesn't move on. She doesn't find herself. She doesn't get better. She goes to a place you can never follow, a place no one can ever reach. She becomes a living secret, a monument to a love that failed, standing in a city of ghosts. And if you were to see her now, walking down the street, you might think she looks fine. You might even think she looks peaceful, but you would be wrong. The peace you see is the peace of the deep ocean floor, where the light never reaches, and the pressure would crush a submarine. She has gone to a place beyond pain, beyond hope, beyond memory. She has become the unanswered question, the door that is always closed, the story that is never, ever told. And she will remain there, long after you have forgotten her name.